FEMA has really let us down, let the country down, and I don't know if that's Biden's fault or whose fault it is, but we're going to take over and we're going to do a good job.
And we're going to eliminate FEMA. So we've got a lot to do, but it's all good, and we're working hard, and we're going to make sure that we're continuing to do exactly what you promised.
Yeah, let's go ahead and bring in Lieutenant General Russel Honore. He's a former commander of the Joint Task Force Katrina. Great to see you. Good morning. Thanks for joining.
Good morning.
So what we're learning, and I'm loving your accent, the White House is now calling for FEMA to be overhauled, not eliminated entirely. So what changes do you think should be made to the agency and how it operates?
Well, I think that's a good move by the White House. It might be bent, but it's not broke. It provides a decisive service to the American people. You know, it was formed on 1 April 1979 by President Carter. And over the years, FEMA has provided enormous help to people. I mean, they're dealing with hundreds of disasters. And, you know, a lot of time people think the storm or the fire come, and once it leaves the news, FEMA's got it along with the governors and the problem solved. But it takes up to 3 to 5 years to resolve a long-term disaster. I think there are things that could be done to improve FEMA. One of them is to put FEMA back under the White House. In 2003, we moved FEMA under the Department of Homeland Security. It looked like a good idea at the time, but it's added another level of bureaucracy. I'm a big believer in FEMA. I think our nation is better because of FEMA. But because of the number of disasters we have now, repetitively, much of it associated with fires, flooding, tornadoes, and hurricanes that seem to be coming more frequently, I think we need FEMA, but we need to fix it, not get rid of FEMA. And I totally disagree with the idea we should get rid of FEMA. But I think the president is going to do the right thing and fix it as opposed to get rid of it and bring it closer back under the White House where it used to be.
Yeah, well, this may have helped the president in the election in North Carolina, my home state. Hurricane Helene just absolutely devastated the area.
Absolutely.
And so much. President Trump, though, he's always talked a lot about bringing power back to the states. Do you think that a governor of a state, a chief executive of a state, would know how to handle these natural disasters better because it's right there in their backyard rather than FEMA, the federal government, coming in, not blind, but not having the same on-the-ground experience?
The challenge is when the state is hit, and sometimes like it did do, let's go back to Katrina. We talk North Carolina, we talk Florida. Much of the people you need to respond, they're victims of the storms too. They're survivors. And the state, when it loses its grid, a major part of its grid, it needs federal help. And that's the role of the federal government. The governors, every governor then would have to establish a replica of FEMA. Some states that can go a whole decade without a FEMA declaration. I think when you look at states that do this well, like Florida and Louisiana, that deal with these repetitively, I think they get a better outcome. But to replicate FEMA in each state, I think would add to the bureaucracy in a way. Whereas now, the states most of them are underfunded in their own public service. You know, in 2023, FEMA gave $1.3 billion to people with their homes, $12 billion to public assistance. That means FEMA is paying to rebuild courthouses, fire stations, gyms, and schools. That wasn't the original implication of the Stafford Act that required assistance to people after disasters. Over the year, politicians, primarily out of the White House, have added tasks for FEMA to deal with. So that is a part of the challenge. So let's fix it, not get rid of it.
Look, and part of it is just restoring the public's trust in all of this. You know, I don't know about you, but I work for my money, and when my taxpayer money is going to a program like FEMA, you know, you want to know that it's going to be there if you do indeed face one of these natural disasters. Lieutenant General Russel Honore, appreciate your time today. Thank you.
God bless America. We got to fix the insurance industry, too. FEMA
without a
get a
doubt.
lot of hits because the insurance industry is not working.
Yep, when
For the
people
people.
were getting refusals. Yep, thank you so much. Thanks again. We'll
So I
dive
hope we
into that
keep it.
issue another day. We'll have to dive into that one another time.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.